Captain Elias Thorne stood before the panoramic viewport of his quarters, staring into the endless void of space as stars blurred past the horizon's promise. 3 months. 3 months since the ceremony that bound him to Lyra of Elysera. 3 months of stolen glances across briefing rooms and formal dinners surrounded by diplomats and crew members who watched their every interaction. The marriage contract lay on his desk, stamped with both human and Elyseran seals, a beautiful document that felt more like a prison sentence than a promise of love. He touched the ring on his finger, a band of crystallized starlight that Lyra's people had crafted, and wondered if she felt as trapped as he did. The door chimed softly, and Dr. Sarah Chen entered without waiting for permission, her expression grave. "Captain, we need to talk about Lyra," she said, pulling up holographic readouts that flickered in the dim light of his quarters. "Her biosigns are deteriorating. Heart rate erratic, cellular regeneration down 40%, and her luminescence—" Sarah paused, choosing her words carefully. "Elias, her skin barely glows anymore. Something's wrong." Elias's chest tightened as he studied the medical data, remembering how Lyra's navy blue skin had shimmered like the ocean under moonlight during their wedding ceremony, how her blonde hair had seemed to capture and hold starlight itself. Now, according to these readings, she was fading like a dying star. "What does she say?" Elias asked, though he already knew the answer. Lyra spoke little, especially to him. Their conversations remained stilted, formal, observed by too many eyes. "She won't talk to me about it," Sarah admitted, "but I consulted the Elyseran cultural database. Their bonding rituals aren't just ceremonial, Elias, they're biological. Without completing the Shaltara, the soul joining, her life force will continue depleting until—" She didn't need to finish. Elias understood death well enough. He'd watched his entire colony on Kepler 442b burn when the atmospheric processors failed, had held dying friends in his arms while rescue ships arrived too late. "The ritual requires complete isolation," Sarah continued, her voice gentle. "Total privacy, vulnerability, genuine emotional connection. It's not something that can be performed in a laboratory or with witnesses. It's intimate, Elias, more intimate than anything in human culture." He felt his face flush, understanding the implications. He'd married Lyra to secure an alliance, to ensure humanity's survival through trade agreements and shared technology. Duty had always come before personal desires. But now duty demanded something else entirely. It demanded he truly become her husband, not just in name, but in spirit, body, and soul. "Chief Engineer Park just informed me we're approaching the Veil Nebula," Elias said quietly, making a decision that terrified and exhilarated him in equal measure. "Standard protocol requires silent running, minimal crew, reduced power, complete communication blackout for 18 hours. Sarah's eyes widened with understanding. "That would give you privacy," she said, "real privacy." Elias nodded, his heart pounding as he straightened his uniform. "Tell Lyra to meet me in the observation deck at 2000 hours. And Sarah, make sure we're truly alone." The observation deck was empty when Elias arrived, its vast dome of transparent aluminum offering an unobstructed view of the Veil Nebula, a cosmic masterpiece of purple and blue gases swirling like divine brushstrokes across the darkness. He dimmed the interior lights until only the nebula's natural glow illuminated the space, casting everything in ethereal twilight. His hands trembled slightly as he waited, wondering if Lyra would even come, if she wanted this ritual or merely endured it out of some sense of duty that had governed his entire life. The door whispered open, and she entered like a vision from a dream he'd been afraid to have. Lyra's navy blue skin seemed darker than he remembered, the usual shimmer reduced to occasional flickers of bioluminescence that pulsed weakly beneath her surface like a struggling heartbeat. Her blonde hair, usually radiant as captured sunlight, hung in soft waves around her shoulders with a dimmed quality that made his chest ache. But her violet eyes, those stunning alien eyes, locked onto his with an intensity that rooted him to the spot. She wore a simple gown of Elyseran silk that shifted colors with her movements, currently displaying deep indigos and shadowy purples that matched the nebula beyond the dome. "You asked for me?" she said, her voice carrying that melodic quality that haunted his dreams since their wedding day. "I did," Elias replied, his throat suddenly dry. "Dr. Chen told me about your condition, about the Shaltara." Lyra's expression flickered with something between relief and apprehension. She moved closer, each step measured and graceful until only a few feet separated them. "I did not wish to burden you," she said softly. "Our marriage was arranged for practical purposes. I have no right to demand—" "Stop," Elias interrupted, surprised by the firmness in his own voice. "You're my wife, Lyra. Not a political arrangement, not a trade agreement. My wife. If you're suffering, if you're dying because of protocols and my cowardice, then that ends tonight." He saw her eyes widen, saw the bioluminescence beneath her skin pulse slightly brighter, as if his words had fed some starving part of her. "You understand what the ritual requires?" she asked, stepping closer still. "It is not merely physical, Elias. The Shaltara demands absolute vulnerability, the sharing of deepest fears and greatest hopes, the merging of souls in a way that can never be undone. Once completed, we will be bound across lifetimes, across galaxies, across death itself." Her hand reached up tentatively, fingers hovering near his face without quite touching him. "I will begin," she said, closing her eyes as if gathering courage. "I am terrified, Elias Thorne, terrified that I am not enough for you, that my people's needs have trapped you in a prison of obligation. When they chose me as your bride, I researched everything about humans, your literature, your music, your capacity for passion and fierce, consuming love, and I feared I could never ignite such feelings in a heart so different from my own." Her eyes opened, shimmering with unshed tears that caught the nebula's light. "I feared I would fade not from the incomplete ritual, but from loneliness even while standing beside you. That is my truth." Elias's chest tightened as he studied the medical data, remembering how Lyra's navy blue skin had shimmered like the ocean under moonlight during their wedding ceremony, how her blonde hair had seemed to capture and hold starlight itself. Now, according to these readings, she was fading like a dying star. "My turn," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I lost everyone on Kepler 442b, 300 colonists dead because I couldn't save them, couldn't fix the processors fast enough. I've carried that weight for 5 years, convinced I didn't deserve happiness, didn't deserve anything but duty and sacrifice. When I saw you at the ceremony, so beautiful it hurt to look at you, I was terrified, terrified that I might actually feel something again, that I might love you and lose you like I lost them. So I built walls, called it protocol, called it professionalism, but I was just a coward, Lyra, a coward who's been falling in love with his wife for 3 months and too scared to admit it." The luminescence beneath her skin exploded into brilliant patterns of gold and white, her whole body glowing like a captured star, and Lyra kissed him with a desperation that matched his own. "The second stage," she whispered against his lips, "requires us to be closer still, to share warmth and breath and essence until we cannot tell where one ends and the other begins." Her hands moved to his uniform collar, fingers trembling slightly. "Will you bare yourself to me, Elias? Not just your body, but everything, every scar, every dream, every broken piece?" He answered by helping her, shirking out of his captain's jacket, letting it fall forgotten to the floor. The observation deck had become their universe, the Veil Nebula painting them in cosmic light as they shed barriers both physical and emotional. Elias's uniform joined Lyra's gown in a pool of fabric at their feet, and he marveled at her fully revealed form, navy blue skin decorated with constantly shifting patterns of bioluminescence, each swirl and pulse reflecting her emotional state in real time. She was art and science and mystery made flesh, and when she reached for him, her cool hands against his warm skin created a sensation that was simultaneously foreign and perfectly natural. "You are marked by your battles," she observed, tracing the scars that crisscrossed his chest and arms with reverent fingers. "Each one tells a story of survival, of strength." "They tell stories of failure," Elias corrected gently, but she shook her head, her blonde hair cascading over her shoulders like liquid gold. "They tell stories of a man who kept fighting even when hope was lost. That is not failure, my Elias. That is the essence of humanity, the stubborn refusal to surrender even when the universe demands it." She pressed her palm flat against his heart, and he felt a tingling warmth begin to spread from the point of contact. "The Shaltara works through resonance," she explained, her voice taking on a rhythmic quality, almost like she was chanting. "Your heart beats with human determination, mine with Elisaran harmony. We must synchronize them, let them find a shared rhythm that belongs to neither species, but to us alone." Elias wrapped his arms around her slender waist, pulling her body flush against his, gasping at the sensation of her cool skin against his warmth, the way her bioluminescent patterns seemed to respond to his touch by brightening and swirling faster. He could feel her heartbeat now, rapid and fluttering like a trapped bird, and concentrated on slowing his own breathing, letting their chests rise and fall together. "That's it," Lyra whispered, her eyes drifting closed. "Feel me, Elias, not with your hands, but with your soul. Open the doors you've kept locked and let me inside." He focused on her, on the weight of her in his arms, the faint scent of ozone and flowers that seemed to emanate from her skin, the small sounds of pleasure she made when his hands explored the curve of her back. And then something shifted. Elias felt it like a door opening in his mind, and suddenly he was flooded with sensations that weren't his own. He felt Lyra's perspective, felt her awe at his strength, her joy at finally being held by him, her fear that this moment might shatter like glass. He gasped, and she gasped with him, their eyes meeting in shared wonder. "You feel it," she said, not a question, but a confirmation. "The merging has begun." Her hands moved to frame his face, violet eyes boring into his with hypnotic intensity. "Now we go deeper, Elias. Now I show you my world, and you show me yours, and we build something new from the pieces." She kissed him again, but this kiss was different. It was a conduit, a bridge between minds. Through their connection, Elias saw Elisara as Lyra remembered it. Towering crystal cities that sang in the wind, twin moons painting everything in silver light, gardens where bioluminescent flowers bloomed in response to emotion. She felt her childhood loneliness as an empath in a world of empaths, always sensing others' feelings, but rarely having her own truly understood. She felt her hope when she learned of Earth, of humanity's reputation for fierce individual passion, and her desperate wish that maybe, just maybe, a human could see her as more than a diplomatic bridge. The visions came faster, her nervousness at the wedding, her heartbreak every time he'd avoided her gaze, her growing desperation as the incomplete bond slowly killed her from within. "My turn," Elias projected back through their link and showed her Kepler 442b in its final moments, the screaming alarms, the failing life support, the faces of people he couldn't save. But he also showed her the beauty before the tragedy, children playing in artificial rain, his mother's laughter, the first sunrise on an alien world that humanity had dared to call home. He showed her his lonely years after, the weight of command, the hollowness of success without anyone to share it with. And finally, he showed her the truth he'd been hiding even from himself, that first glimpse of her walking towards him at the ceremony, how his heart had recognized her as his mind built walls, how every ignored glance had been a battle against his own desperate longing. "I've been yours since that moment," his thoughts whispered to hers. "I just needed permission to admit it." Lyra's entire body blazed with light now, her navy blue skin nearly white with the intensity of her bioluminescence, patterns racing across her in ecstatic chaos as their souls intertwined more deeply. Elias felt her life force, that fading essence Dr. Chen had warned about, and instinctively reached for it with something he didn't know he possessed, a wellspring of vitality, human stubbornness made tangible, the same force that had kept him fighting when all hope was lost. He poured it into her through their connection, felt her gasp and arch against him as warmth flooded her system, as colors exploded across her skin in shades he'd never seen before. "Elias," she cried out, her voice echoing both aloud and in his mind. "I feel you inside me, healing me, completing me. Don't stop, please don't stop."
He held her tighter, letting everything flow between them, his strength for her fading life, her harmony for her chaotic grief, his passion for her loneliness, her peace for his guilt. They were healing each other, two broken pieces from different worlds fitting together into something whole and beautiful and unprecedented. The Veil Nebula beyond the dome seemed to pulse in rhythm with their joined heartbeats, as if the universe itself approved of their union. "The final stage," Lyra managed to say, her voice trembling with emotion and power. "The vows, Elias. We must speak the vows that seal us forever." She pulled back just enough to look into his eyes, her face radiant with joy and love and a fierce determination that matched his own. "I'll start," Elias said, his voice rough but certain, speaking words that came from somewhere deeper than conscious thought, as if the ritual itself was guiding his tongue. "I, Elias Thorn of Earth, claim you, Lyra of Elisara, as my soul's completion. I vow to carry your light through the darkest voids, to shield your heart with my strength, to cherish every difference between us as proof that love transcends evolution itself." His hands cupped her luminescent face, thumbs tracing the high curve of her alien cheekbones. "I vow to never hide from you again, to meet your vulnerability with my own, to build a home in the space between heartbeats where yours and mine become ours. This I swear on the stars themselves. You are mine, and I am yours, until the heat death of the universe and whatever lies beyond." Tears streamed down Lyra's face, glowing faintly as they traced paths down her navy blue skin, and when she spoke, her voice resonated with harmonics that seemed to make the air itself vibrate. "I, Lyra of Elisara, claim you, Elias Thorn, as my soul's completion. I vow to weather your storms with calm, to hold your broken pieces until they heal, to show you that strength is not the absence of fear, but the choice to love despite it." Her hands moved to rest over his heart, and she felt her life force, now vibrant and strong, pulsing in perfect synchronization with his own. "I vow to be your anchor in the void, your rest after battle, your home among the stars. I vow to meet your passion with my own, to learn the fierce human art of loving without reservation. This I swear on the joining of our souls. You are mine, and I am yours, across lifetimes, across galaxies, across death itself. Shaltara Ken Thoris, bound in starlight, forever one." The moment her final words left her lips, something fundamental shifted in the universe. Elias felt it like a click, a lock engaging, as if reality itself had been rewritten to acknowledge their bond. The connection between them solidified, no longer tentative and exploratory, but permanent and unbreakable, a cord of light and love that would persist even if galaxies separated them. Lyra's skin erupted in the most spectacular display yet, every color imaginable racing across her navy canvas, her blonde hair seeming to float in an invisible current of pure joy, her violet eyes blazing with life and power and absolute certainty. She was radiant, healed, more than healed. She was transformed, and so was he. They came together in a kiss that was both celebration and promise, their bodies and souls moving in perfect harmony as the ritual reached its natural culmination. Every touch was electric, every whispered word of love amplified through their bond, until pleasure and emotion became indistinguishable. Elias had never felt so connected to another being, had never imagined that intimacy could be this complete. He knew her and was known, accepted her and was accepted, loved her and was loved with an intensity that defied description. When they finally collapsed together beneath the dome, wrapped in each other's arms as the Veil Nebula continued its cosmic dance above them, he understood that his life had just divided into before and after this moment. "I can feel you," Lyra whispered, her head resting on his chest, her hand playing idly with patterns of light she was creating on his skin. Apparently, the bond allowed her to share her bioluminescence with him temporarily. Elias tested